Do you need Christmas gifts that express your disgust for Justin Trudeau or your annoyance with the climate scare or how much you dislike COVID lockdowns? Or maybe you just want to show your support for the truckers while simultaneously giving back in the fight for civil liberties? Well, friends, stay tuned. Good friends of Rebel News, Mike Mayer and his fiancée Cheri Easton, are well known to many Rebel viewers for their activism in trying to keep accused child sex offenders behind bars and away from their victims. Now, right now, they're trying to make legislative change to protect victims within the court system. But the two of them are also staunch supporters of Canadian truckers and the activism of Canadian truckers who opposed the government through the Freedom Convoy earlier this year. Mike and Cheri also think the plastic ban is stupid, that the climate scare is overblown. They think lockdowns hurt kids. And sometimes, just sometimes, you've got to swear when you've had enough. So Cheri has a little side hustle. It's called Calendars That Curse. And I think they're the great Christmas gift for the rough around the edges conservative in your life, maybe somebody just like me. And the reason I'm telling you all of this is because Cheri has decided that 20% of the sales on certain Calendars That Curse products will be donated to our friends at the registered Canadian charity, the Democracy Fund, who are representing so many of the brave, persecuted truckers who set us all free from COVID measures through their principled civil disobedience to the governments, both here in Alberta and, of course, in Ottawa. So let's talk to Cheri about her products, and then let's get an update on her very important work to keep accused child sex offenders away from their victims when they are granted bail. Check it out. I'm here at the workplace of Cheri Easton, who has a real job, but she also has a little bit of a side hustle, which I love because it has a charitable aspect and you're speaking truth to power. And you also don't really seem to care all that much about cancel culture based on the subject matter. So Cheri, tell us a little bit about your business. And for those of you at home who are looking at this video thinking, I know Cheri from somewhere, we'll get to that in a second.
So the nice thing about being nobody is that you can't really be canceled because you're no one to begin with. So I can pretty much just do whatever I want. And that's basically what I've done. I'm just sick of all of the stuff around being politically correct and all the seriousness in life. And everybody's just kind of at each other's throats, especially the last couple of years, right? Everything's just so divisive, and it's just, I'm sick of it. So I was like, you know what, let's do something that's a little sarcastic and fun, at least in my opinion, and just kind of shows what a joke all of this really is, and just, tells it like it is, I guess. I started with calendars. I came out with these calendars, and it was basically just, I wanted something that curses. I want something in my office. I don't have, we're not open to the public. It's me. I'm like, work is already serious enough as it is. I want to be able to just look at something and, there's only so much you can put in an office that will kind of brighten your day, I guess. And so I started off with a completely calendar and a bitch of a calendar, and then I added a cursive calendar for people who have maybe a little bit more serious workplaces, so it's, everything's in cursive, or for people who work at home, who have kids, minors can't read cursive writing anymore, right? It's floral backgrounds, it looks pretty and whatever. And then with everything over the last couple of years, I wanted to add the Don't F with Truckers calendar and a Trudeau calendar, just because I 100% support the truckers and everything that they did. I wish I could have been there with them. Unfortunately, I had to work and I couldn't be there, but I was sharing and following along and getting restricted on Facebook for all of it, and trying my best to get it out there. But so I just took a bunch of stuff that happened over the last couple of years and just kind of put it into almost like a meme style calendar. For the Don't F with Truckers calendar and the F Trudeau calendar, I'm donating 20% of those proceeds to the Democracy Fund and another organization that are working to help support the truckers in their legal battles, which I think is very important. And then I added the tote bags because Trudeau's making bags illegal, plastic bags illegal, which is whatever. Whole nother ball game right there. And I'm like, you know what, if you're going to make me use something that I don't want to use, then I'm going to make you regret it. And so I decided to design some bags. And so I'm also going to be donating 20% of the proceeds from the Trudeau bags, and the Thank You Truckers bags will also get donated to help support the truckers in their legal battles.
Well, I know from the Democracy Fund to you, we definitely appreciate that. They're in an uphill battle fighting all the levers of power in this country, including the disgusting intersection of the mainstream media and the government. So they do need all the help that they can get. Why don't you tell us how people can find your business? Because I love it, especially the climate change one. The climate change calendar. It's a 1-year calendar, but it reminds you that there are only 7 years left on your life.
This is the seven years left edition, because apparently by 2030 now we're all going to be dead. So if I do one next year, it'll be the 6 years left edition, and we'll just count it down till we're all dead. So that'll be fun. Next year we're going to have some more calendars too that are coming out. I have a website that you can purchase them through, calendarsthatcurse.ca. That's the easiest way. I do have a Twitter and Instagram. You can find me there at Cursing Calendars. You can send me an email if you guys have questions or want anything local here, info@calendarsthatcurse.ca. Shipping Christmas gifts this year is not cheap. So if there are people who are local, just feel free to reach out to me and we can arrange to do that. But anyone who's not local to Edmonton area, yeah, you can go on the website and purchase through there. And I'm sorry about the shipping rates. It's Trudeau's fault, not mine.
The donations to the Democracy Fund, that's something that you decided upon yourself. I know you, I love you, and your husband, Mike, but that's just the kind of person that you are, is that you work to make your community better and help other people, which takes me to exactly why many of you probably recognize Cheri through her work through an organization previously known as People versus Predators. It has a new name now. Yeah. But tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah, so we've rebranded the nonprofit. It's now Survivors Fighting for Change Foundation. So we do a lot of the same work. We still work to support victims of child abuse. We are lobbying for changes. So we have our new federal petition that actually just came out last week. So we're going to be pushing for that. We have an MP that sponsored that. The petition has been approved by the clerk of petitions, so it's ready to go. So we're collecting signatures for that. We're always collecting signatures for high-profile offenders that we do community petitions. Those go directly to the courts. We have our Child ID Kit events, so we're distributing free Child ID kits across Alberta to families who want them. We're trying to give out as many free info packages to families. So the idea is to educate parents so they can better educate their children. Experts suggest the best way to prevent abuse is through education. So that's our big thing, is just getting the awareness out there, getting the information out there, providing the resources that parents need to help prevent abuse. And then in turn, we hope that we can start fixing these statistics, because they're increasing drastically and the numbers are horrible.
And COVID didn't help. Locking kids in their home away from mandated reporters and then sticking them in front of Zoom all day, it made all these sorts of problems a lot worse.
Yeah, and that's the thing that people need to remember. And a lot of people still don't realize that over 80% of children who are sexually abused, are abused by someone known and trusted to them. And so a lot of times these outlets for them, so whether it be their sports, their activities, their schools, those are the places where they go for safety. So by taking those away, yeah, you definitely isolated a lot of children. You took away their supports and their safety nets. Which increased the amount of abuse and the reports of abuse.
Tell us a little bit about your federal petition. What do you plan to do with that?
So the federal petition, what we're doing is we're asking for mandatory distances from playground, schools, and victims when a adult who is charged with a sexual offense against a child is released on bail back into an undisclosed community.
Hang on. It's hard to believe that that's not a requirement in the law.
So no, we have mandatory conditions for some offenses. So for example, we have mandatory conditions for a DUI offense with a graduated system. So if you commit a DUI, there's automatic conditions. So you automatically get a fine. You automatically lose your license for so many days. If you're a repeat offender, so you have previous offenses, they have a graduated system in place. So the fines increase. The amount of time you lose your license for is longer. You can have your car impounded, etc. We have nothing in place for sexual offenses against a child. So we have no mandatory conditions, no nothing. Everything's 100% up to the discretion of the judge. And so what happens is these offenders go in front of a bail hearing, in front of a judge or a JP for bail, and they provide their bail plan, which is, I have a home, I have a residence, I have this, I have that. And generally they're like, okay, great, have a nice day. They check it off, they sign it off. They don't actually look at where the address is into relation to the victim. They don't look at where the address is in relation to schools and playgrounds. And we find that we have a lot of offenders who are from the community of the victim and then getting released back into the same community as the victim. And so not only did this victim go through all the trouble of being abused and then speaking out and reporting that abuse, but then to see their offender get released the next day back into their community, what message does that send not only to the victim, to their family, but then also to their communities, right? So that's a huge issue. So we want to start having a mandatory distance in place so that way judges and JPs have to take into consideration their locations when they're releasing them on bail and when they're approving these bail plans, so we can actually make sure that we're protecting communities that they're getting released into. We also want mandatory monitoring for these offenders because, again, there's none of that. So for starters, we want a mandatory surety, and then if they're a repeat offender, then the judges would increase it from there, whether that be GPS monitoring, whatever. And then that graduated system, again, which is where if they're a repeat offender, the distances from playground, schools, and victims would increase, and then that monitoring would increase. So a lot of people assume we already have this in place, and I've yet to meet anybody who's opposed to putting it in place. So the thing is that we just need to come together and actually get it in place. So people can find us. We have social media, Survivors Fighting for Change Foundation. We have a website, survivorsfightingforchangefoundation.ca, and then we have email as well, survivorsfighting@gmail.com. So people can send us an email. We'll send you copies of our free info packages. If you go to our website, we have a calendar on there which shows our events and the dates and locations of where we're going to be, whether we have the free child ID kits available at those events, and what we're going to be doing there, so people can come out and get those. And then, yeah, anyone can reach out to us anytime, and victims can reach out to us. Email, messenger is generally how people contact us directly.
Well, Cheri, one of the best things about this job is that I get to meet good people like you and your husband, Mike. For those of you who don't know her husband, Mike, although you've probably seen him in interviews, he's a staunch advocate, not just for children, but for veterans who, are in the news right now because the government is trying to kill them through medically assisted suicide. And you're working for children, and you are working to advance civil liberties through your profane work.
Hey, I know that I'm not the only person who supports the truckers and who's opposed to Trudeau and the stuff that he's doing. And I mean, even if it's not political, I still have the other ones, right? The completely calendar and the of a calendar, which is completely apolitical, but it's just, I mean, everyone has a different sense of humor, and I know I'm not the only one who finds this stuff funny or entertaining. With the totes and stuff is, I wasn't there to support the truckers offhand, and I wasn't there to whatever. And I know there's a lot of people who were, and they still want to be able to show that support. And I want to be able to walk around with my thank you truckers bag and make sure that everybody knows in Walmart that I support the people who brought the food to my shelves that I'm about to buy.
I like making even the most mundane things an act of rebellion, and I think this is a great way to do it. Thanks so much, Cheri.
Yes, thank you.
I wish Cheri the best of luck in her new business. I hope she has a fruitful Christmas season, and I remain grateful to her for her support of the rights of victims, but also for her support of civil liberties. For Rebel News, I'm Sheila Gunn Reid. Have you checked out our Rebel News store? Do so after you check out Cheri's products, but please go to rebelnewsstore.com. Right now in the store, if you use the coupon code CHRISTMAS, and buy 2 unisex shirts, you get the third one, a little gift for yourself for free. Again, the coupon code is Christmas, and that's rebelnewsstore.com.